Let's get into the chaos. Unlikely Smash Newcomers. This is the series where I talk about characters that I think have a very low chance of getting to Smash. The first characters I talk about in the series are gonna be the most likely out of the unlikely characters, but unlikely nonetheless. And here at part 1, finally, we have Screamtail from Pokemon and T from Puyo Puyo Tetris. Now, I actually don't think these characters are unlikely. They're just gonna be unlikely in the way that I talk about. Screamtail, if Screamtail were to get into Smash Bros., it probably would be an alternate costume for Jigglypuff, or like as close to Screamtail as Jigglypuff design could get as an alternate costume. But if they went the design of Echo Fighter, I think Screamtail should have a bigger hurt box, be harder to launch, and run faster on the ground. This is because these are all traits that Screamtail actually has over Jigglypuff. In the Pokemon games, the bigger Pokemon with higher defense stat, higher speed stat. And I think Screamtail can borrow all these traits from Wario. And I'm specifically taking these stats from Wario onto Screamtail because I'm also going to take Wario's neutral special for Screamtail's neutral special. That's because Screamtail has these teeth that are prominent in its design. So I think having a bite attack in its moveset would be fitting. And this isn't something I'm going to do for every character, but a stage that you could incorporate into Smash from Gen 9 would be Area 0. I made this quick design right here. I think it's actually pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, Area 0 is the highlight location of Generation 9, so having that be a stage in Smash Bros. Would be very fitting. As for T, I don't think he himself would get in, but the elements of Tetris would be in Smash Bros. Because it's such an iconic series. Now that I'm thinking about it, though, I actually don't understand why there haven't been really any Tetris elements in Smash Bros. Except for the Tetris theme song. I could understand not having a character, but not having a Tetris stage. I made a Tetris stage, and yeah, it's chaotic to fight on, but a lot of Smash stages are. And they could obviously just adjust it so it's not that crazy to fight on. Nothing could be a worse stage to fight on than 75M, and that's in the game. So there's kind of really no excuse to not have a Tetris stage. But since T is the king of Tetris in his game, I think using him to represent a Tetris moveset would be interesting. Firstly, I would probably take all of his stats from Rosalina, since he's like a space god of sorts in the game. And that's kind of what Rosalina is. She's like a space queen. So like, I feel like translating her stats and her movement over to T would be pretty fitting. And since most of his generic moves wouldn't really matter, you can also get those from Rosalina too. The highlight of his moveset is going to be his special moves. I would only change his tilt attack, his dash attack, and his forward air so that he uses his chakram as an attack, since there's fighters in the game that have chakrams as attacks. Midman's chakram would be T's tilt attack, just without the long arm stretching it all the way over there. It would just be the chakram directly in front of him. And for the dash attack and forward air, you could have the Mii Sword Fighter's chakram replace those moves. For taunts and victory screens, he has voice clips in the game that can easily be placed into these positions.
Ready? I never back down.
But for the real important part, his smash attacks and his special moves. This is going to be him using different type of Tetraminos, that's the different type of Tetris blocks, in different types of ways to attack. For his smash attacks, he's going to be using the T block, and he's going to be doing this by punching forwards, upwards, or downwards, and whichever way he's punching, that's the way the bottom part of the T is going to be facing. Hitting the sides of this attack will send you at that direction instead of the way he's actually trying to punch you, but the launch power will be less and the damage will be less. Basically the sour spot of the attack. His neutral special will have him slap a square block in front of him. Hitting the special button will delay the attack a little bit so that you can trick opponents. You won't be able to do it indefinitely, but you can do it long enough to stop a character from spot dodging or to get around a counter. His side special will have him dash forwards like Captain Falcon, although halfway through the dash, he'll rise up a little bit and then continue dashing. This is him making a Z-block format, and this can be angled upwards or downwards. The type of Z-block he's doing depends on which way he's facing when he uses the attack, and that's going to matter later for his ultimate move. His up special will have him rise up, creating a long block, then he will jump off of the long block, giving him more height, and sending the long block downwards, which will be able to hit opponents. Or if he had turned sideways after initiating the up special, he will instead send the long block sideways, which will aid him better in horizontal recovery. His down special will have him swing an L block over his head, either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on which way he is facing. The attack will stop and connect once it's directly above his head, but if the special button is pressed again, it will continue to move along the clock until the attack is directly in front of him, which will turn it into a meteor smash attack. But once again, you can continue hitting the special button to move it further down the clock until it's below him, and then you can hit the special button once more and then it will end up behind him. This makes his down special very versatile and somewhat unpredictable to his opponents, although the sweet spot is only at the end of the rotation when the block actually stops moving. While it's moving into position, it's just going to be the south spot. It's only going to do very minimal damage and just kind of knock opponents away. But throughout the match, while T's using his special moves, he's going to be playing a game of Tetris. For real. In his little character icon, there's going to be a game of Tetris going on. Well, a predetermined game of Tetris. In his Tetris screen, he's going to have faded silhouettes of each block type that he needs to put onto the board. Once he hits one of the blocks, that block is going to fill up a space on the board until the board gets completely filled up. Once he gets the last hit in with the block that he needs, that attack will become a super powered Tetris attack. It will do 40% damage and basically guarantee a KO, kind of like Mr. Game & Watch's 9. Unless someone techs off a wall, or if you're playing on Temple or something, you just the character just keeps bouncing off walls or something like that, it's going to be a KO. Now, this isn't going to be overpowered for a few different reasons. The first reason being, if he hits an attack with a block that is not needed on the screen, the entire screen's going to reset. So the player can't just spam any special move they want to get this desired outcome. And the second reason is the final block that you need on the screen is going to be the Tetris attack move. So therefore, the opponent knows exactly what special move you're going to be trying to connect, and they can play around that and use it to their advantage. By maybe forcing you to recover, and then it's not the long block you needed, and they get hit by that long block, now your whole screen starts over. So overall, T's going to be a pretty strategic character to use in matches if you want to get that ultra powerful Tetris attack. The last thing to talk about is his final smash. Now, in Puyo Puyo Tetris, there's a mode where you use a big bang attack on your opponents. In this game, that's basically just a black hole sucking in a bunch of blocks and then launching them out. Translated as a final smash, you could have the black hole be like Palutena's black hole. He just keeps an opponent there, and then the Tetris blocks shooting out will just hit any random person on screen if they're nearby, dealing 10% each. But if you got sucked into the black hole beforehand, you get hit by every single Tetris block, and that should equate to around 40% damage. But in this mode of Tetris, to deal more damage to the opponent, you have to clear lines. And in Smash Brothers, the only way to clear lines is by getting Tetrises. So the more Tetrises you got before you use this final smash, the more damage it's going to deal to the opponent. I think the damage should increase by 10% for every Tetris you've gotten, maxing out at 80% damage for the final smash. But once the final smash shows up, whether you got it or not, I think the counter for how many Tetris you got should reset. So yeah, it's not going to roll over and stack. Not that you could really do that much from it stacking. You can only get a total of 40% increase. So yeah. But there you go. That's T. That's how I would incorporate him into Smash Brothers. Now, like I said, I don't think he himself would get in, but I think this kind of moveset on a Tetris character would be incredible. And I think Nintendo would love it, but I don't know who Nintendo would use to use said Tetris moveset, Tetris doesn't really have a character, except for this guy, as far as I'm concerned. So, what do you think of my idea for these two characters? Would you like Screamtails and Echo Fighter? Would you like T to be the representative for a Tetris moveset? Tell me in the comments, and thanks for watching the video.